Well, hey there YouTube, it's Petey Two Finger, and I'm back to try to make a shorter version of a video talking about the music gear, the battery powered rig. So my guitar plays through this MG30. I also use a fancy Echo box, but this has amp simulations and cabinet simulations. You can download these cabinets, the guitar speakers, and most of the distortion doesn't come from pedal models. It comes from models of the amplifiers, which are they're pretty good. Like, they sound good. I don't know what all these amplifiers sound exactly like, but the simulations in this MG30 they're really good. I really like this, and it has this control button which you can set it up to turn different things on and off for different parts of the songs. So it's easy to use and it sounds fantastic, and it only draws 300 milliamps, which it's a third of an amp. Now my wife has a pedal board. Her pedal board looks like this. She's got a buffered tuner, Boss Auto Wah-Wah, a compressor, a distortion, a noise gate. This is a Demeter Fat Control, which is a mid-range booster. A phase shifter. This is a cabinet simulator because she plugs right into the PA, so this kind of fakes the sound of a bass cabinet very well. This is a bass limiter, which makes it sound really loud and crisp. And then here is this preamp, which has bass, mid-range, treble. There's an overdrive and a mix for that overdrive. And it has a XLR, or balanced line output. So this goes right to the mixer. There is 2 battery packs underneath of this, which run these lithium-ion batteries, which I'm going to be talking about those. These battery packs are initially made for portable DVD players. One of them is a nickel metal hydride, the other 2 are lithium-ion. You charge these up, they have indicator LEDs. You press this button and they let you know, and I really like that. The LED's not running unless you press it, and it'll tell you it's full. Usually when we get home, we'll have 3 lights. I've never had 2 or 1. We charge them full and it just goes down to 1. So when you get these, they put out 9 volts positive. You really need 9 volts negative for pedals and guitar gear, so you have to cut this cable and flip-flop the wires is what you need to do. So these 3 batteries, you know, I pay about 5. I paid 7 for one. I got one at Goodwill, one at Salvation Army, and one I got from eBay. And all 2 of them were used. The used ones work great. The one that was new in the packaging was a little funny. But yeah, they're great. They're great. They're like 5,400 mAh or something, milliamp hours. They're kind of heavy, and you can imagine like a 9-volt battery would be about that big. So they're quite a bit more power in them. These are 18650 lithium-ion batteries. We recycle these out of laptop power packs. So we go to the resale store, there'll be this little black bar that fits into the bottom of the laptop, and if you open that up, you crack it open. I twist them side to side till they crack and then rip them apart. There'll be like 8 of these batteries in there. You see, I've scrawled 2200. This is a 3200. This is a 2600. And that's the capacity. So the 3200, you could think of that as a glass of water. It will be all the way full. The 2200 will be 1,000 less. So that's the capacity. And they run it like about 4 volts. Maybe a little over. So 2 of them can power a pedal. Yeah, it won't be 9, but the pedal doesn't mind. So these things are great, and we've got a good amount of them. You can see here, the lower value ones I'll run in flashlights. Like, these might be for flashlights, you know, because we have lithium-ion flashlights and they're great. So when we record our audio, we use this thing here. It's a 2-track digital recorder that's 2496. Like a CD is 1644.1. This is 2496. So it records really high quality audio. And we paid $10 for this thing at an auction, and an online auction, and of course the battery was dead, so I velcroed it down to this box, and there's this cable coming out of the box and a switch. So when the internal battery dies, you can plug this cable in and turn this on, and there's a big old battery backup. Now the original battery died. I ordered this replacement battery that was too big, so I just taped it, glued it to the underside of this box and ran the wires up inside the unit. And then you can turn the switch on here, which throws 4 of those 18650 batteries through this fuse to this LM2596 voltage regulator. You adjust that screw there until your meter, your multimeter, would read 5 volts. So it's taking 7.4 volts and knocking it down to 5. And that gives you the 5-volt USB on this plug, which plugs in here, which would enable this thing when the internal battery, which it isn't internal anymore, it's slightly external, but you can record for a long time. Not worry about the batteries dying. And this is our e-bike battery. I looked this battery up. I think it's 36-volt battery, and it was $560. We paid $5 at Goodwill, and it works. So this battery powers the main amplifier, and I need to explain right here the reason we were able to do what we're able to do. Like normally in the 80s, you turn your car radio on, and in a couple hours the battery would be drained. Well, that's because that's an older amplifier technology. That solid state amp wasn't so efficient. We only use something called Class D amplifiers. Now, some people don't like Class D amplifiers. They'll say a tube amp always sounds better. Well, that may be true, but there are no outlets on a tree, and we play remote. So we have no choice but to use super efficient Class D amplification, which they're starting like Vox, Fender, Hartkey, what's the other company? Quilter makes these power block amps. All these manufacturers are getting hip to Class D, and they're using them. I've been using them for a long time because they're 93% efficient, which means with a tube amp, it's maybe 30% efficient. Like 70% of the power you're wasting is turning into heat. Remember how hot those tubes would get? Well, Class D amp doesn't get hot. So there's no wasted power, which means we're able to power these amplifiers with batteries. That's how we do it. So that's the mystery. How is PD able to run battery amps? Well, it's not with a ridiculous amount of batteries. It's with really efficient amplifier technology. So I bought this thing. It was $4. You had to build it. 6 of those batteries fit in here, and it's got USB output on it, which is 5 volts. Well, I got a little converter plug that boosts the 5 to 9 volts. It's called a step-up or a buck transformer. So that little step-up let me run my multi-effector, my MG30, my main processor, on this single battery all day for 8 hours with that little converter. And I thought for sure these batteries were going to cash out, and they didn't. There's 4 power meter LEDs, and it was only one of them there was 3 of them were lit when we were finished. So it's quite a bit smaller than the main 36-volt battery. It only holds 6 of those batteries, but this is my new way to power, and we're always improving. Every year I improve and upgrade, and I think I've hit a plateau and I may be done with that. So this is the old style battery. This is a 12-volt 7 mAh. PB means lead. So this is almost like a motorcycle battery, real heavy, and this is how we started. So this is a backup battery. It's got a plug that I made. There's a fuse. We fuse everything. It came out of this Belkin box, which Belkin sold these boxes to AT&T Yahoo Uverse, which was a service which was internet, phone, and TV. And it came with these backup boxes, so if the power went out, that battery in this box would keep your router going so you could use your laptop still or call 911 on your phone if you had an emergency. So these were important, but a lot of people bought that service and then switched over to Comcast, enabling my wife and I to find these boxes at resale stores because there was a surplus of them going back to 2010. And we would get these for around $6, and they started dropping to $3, and they all had that giant battery in there, and we would buy them, charge the battery up, and that's how the story of the whole family band. There was these Belkin boxes. So the Lord provides, and hallelujah for Belkin and AT&T Uverse. So this is a baking bread pan, and I put an MP3 board in it. I make the drums on my computer with software called Reaper, which is a free digital audio workstation, multi-track digital audio recorder. If you want to record music with your computer and your guitar player, we all use Reaper. And here's a little memory card. I put my drum tracks on here. So I'll hit this as a play button. Basically, I wired this switch up to this play button on this board, and then the fast forward up to this next, and the rewind up to this previous, so I can do the controls with my feet. There's a power switch. There's 4 of those 18650 lithium-ion batteries in here. This is it's called an Aphex Oral Exciter. It's basically, it boosts the treble and the bass. And then here's a volume control. So I can just, rather than playing around with buttons to adjust the volume, holding buttons down, I can just twist that knob. So this is a preamp circuit that I paid $1.50 for. It has an NE5532 chip, which is a really good sounding op amp. And this digital audio player was $6. So the underside of this, there's little cutouts for each screw, and there's some angled stuff in here. You got to cut a weird hole, a weird shape of a hole. You can see there. It's so yeah, Petey, I'm a huge hack, and I can't photograph very well either. So that's how we do the. Oh yeah, there's 2 outputs. One of our setups, our micro rig, I use a pair of amps, one for tweeters and one for more woofers. So this passive splitting is not the way to go. If you put a booster amp in, you can split 2 channels and it won't cut in half. As you can see, I wasn't kidding, we fuse everything. This is a little 6.5 inch. This was a subwoofer, and this is a VHS cover that I cut for this panel, and then installed this 3-band EQ with a master volume. This is somebody gave me this Bose speaker. I'm putting another Hartke bass speaker in here. My wife's going to have a pair of these 6.5 inch Hartke bass speakers for her micro rig. We have a smaller rig for the patio and park. This is my test tone generator. So when you hit this switch or that button, the light comes on and it puts out a 1K test tone, beep. And you can boost the volume here or turn it down if it's driving you nuts. And this is in place of whenever you're building or experimenting with circuits, like plugging your guitar in and having your wife hit an A over and over. While you troubleshoot it, you can plug this in and just hear that 1K sine wave to your heart's content. Yeah, when you turn this knob up, a snake doesn't appear. And this company, the guy actually had to change the name of it. It's no longer, it's just called Love My Switches. Lawrence Scaduto, and this guy, his music is great. This is our mixer. We paid $20 for it. They claimed it was all good at Guitar Center, and I brought with stuff to test it. It was in Indiana, and the second channel was blown. So I complained to the manager, and we got it for $20. Now this mixer is designed to run off a pair of 9-volt batteries. There's 3 in there, but the third one is for phantom power, and we don't use that. So this aluminum suitcase came from Goodwill. This is the master amp. So it's master volume, satellite speakers, because see, this is a 2.1. There's 2 satellite speakers and 1 subwoofer, treble and bass knobs. Here's a backup MP3 player with the little memory card in there, and there's a jack to plug in a foot switch. So you power on the MP3 with this foot switch, power on the mixer with this switch, and the power amp hooks up back here to that big e-bike battery. Left speaker output, subwoofer output, right satellite output, and you can see how this is wood and this is silver. Well, when I built it, I had the silver in here, and it connected the grounds, and it didn't work. And boy, Petey is not very quick. It took me like 3 weeks of punching myself square in the nose before I figured out what was wrong. And then I ripped that panel out and eliminated this ground loop, and then, because Class D amps are funky, you can't have the input ground connected to the output. It's weird. Like I grew up learning audio from working on car stereos, and kind of you have to have everything grounded. Not the case with Class D. This is different stuff. So this is inside of that box. Here's the MP3 board. Here's the EQ booster. We fuse everything. This is a 600 watt amp. So we have 300 watts for our sub and 150 per channel for the satellites. These 2 batteries power this and that. And then these, there's 6 and 6. those come out to 12 volt packs. It's a 12 volt pack wired in parallel with another 12 for additional capacity. And then the same thing here, 12 and 12. And that wiring runs up here to these switches and fuses, and then this is the voltage regulator. So we adjust this knob till we get 9 volts. So 12 comes in, 9 comes out. That's what the voltage regulator does. And these are efficient. They don't get hot or waste much power. So the mixer is designed to run on 2 9-volt batteries. Well, we're running it off of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, two 12-volt packs that bust down to 9 through these circuits. So last time we went out, we only had one. I didn't have any audio. We only had one LED on this. This other LED was not lit, and it was because we had 4 dead batteries installed. I wonder who did that. I usually try to test them, but we were in a hurry. And here's my wife's pedal board. There's my rig. It's got this. Here's the MP3 player that plays the drums. So I hit on this and it starts playing. The 4 count comes in, or 8 count. There's that little battery pack powering my all-in-one processor. I ran a separate line. This is the output. These 2 cables go into this fancy Echo box, the Moore Ocean machine. And this is a really excellent dual delay. There's 2 delays and a reverb. And this switch works with this, and so does this one. So when I can adjust the level of delay and reverb with that pedal. So if I want more effect or less, I can get it right there. This is a big old battery power in this one. Gonna phase that out when it dies. I'll replace it with something smaller or more lightweight. These 2 are tap tempo. So at the beginning of the song, when the 4 count comes in, I'll tap in time 2 times on this, and then I'll go 1, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. And what that does, the echo will now be in time with the beat of the song, which is important. And having that tap tempo is so cool. It's so nice. I change patches that says the name of the song. There's a scene with this button which will turn various things on or off. So when the song changes, I step on this. If I want more effect, I can toe down on that or toe up if I want less. It's a really, I like it. It's simple, but it sounds really good. So yeah, we got these Behringer 10-inch speakers. We had 8s. The 10s are bigger and much better. I ran my main sound here goes to the mixing board, so it comes out of the, and the sub a little bit, these 2 speakers. And then there was a headphone port, so I ran that up to this little equalizer that I built. This is a stereo 3-band EQ, so it's bass, mid-range, treble. There's a switch for AC or DC, and then there's this master volume. So the cable comes up here, and then it goes into this 2-amp. This is a silverware box I got at Goodwill. We found this ceiling speaker. You can see there's 2 tweeters. So this is a full range. It's got a real big woofer with 2 connections. So it's like a stereo speaker, even though it's a mono 1 speaker. There's 2 connections and 2 tweeters. So this speaker, I looked it up, is $179. It's a fancy ceiling speaker. Like if you owned a mansion, you'd have these. And they sound just killer. So inside of this, I built a 50 by 2 amp. And here's a master volume, chicken head knob, power and fuse. I'm not sure what that is. But so yeah, I turned the treble up like halfway through the day. And I maybe boosted this, but this EQ, I don't even know if I need it. It just kind of gives me a little something in between, Because on the other channel, I got a mixer in here with an EQ to adjust if I want. There's no adjuster on here, so I'm using that for now. Here's the little audio recorder, so it comes out of the headphone jack and then goes in stereo into this. So I have to take these files, put them on my computer, and then take the camcorder and line it up to match it. And then I'll bleed a little bit of the echoey sound from the microphone and the camcorder in with this really good mix from the mixing board. And that's what you hear on our videos. And again, these speakers, these 10s, I think we paid $130 for the pair of them, and man, did they make a big difference. The bass sounds great now, and the bass was always the challenge. So here's my wife's little area. As you can see, she's got notes for all the songs, and she's always counting. She's like, "You did it only 4 times. It's supposed to be 8." She never makes any mistakes, and I'm really lucky and blessed. Gopti is such an awesome mate for me. I can't tell you how hard I hit the jackpot when I met her. And this is our little setup. We love to play at the Forge in Lamont, with the exception of the foot traffic. They built a zip line park further down over here, and there's a parking lot over here. So if there's people walking by, and it just gets distracting. Like, I need to concentrate when I play. I'm not a talented player, so I really need to pay attention. And if people are walking by, like demanding eye contact, I've got to figure out how to like make it look like I'm looking at them and smiling and nod, but don't really look at them. But either way, a lot of times it just throws me off. And we're filming, like we're trying to get a good take, trying not to screw up, Petey, you know? So yeah, this is the Latin Kings tagged this. They don't come and sweep. We sweep this up, and I've got these mats. I bring a little, you can't see it, but there's a paintbrush here, and I'll sweep the dust off of my screens because it gives me something to do. Here's my homemade lemonade. Really like drinking that. And Donna had a bee buddy. The bee wanted to be a rock star. We do share a tuner, and we'll use that before we start. We'll ceremoniously tune up together. And we also have a little picnic. We'll eat like over on this table over here. We'll have some chicken salad sandwiches or pizza. And after we set everything up, we like to sit down. And so she's got a buffered tuner. And this is a little 90 with a 1/4-inch female, so she plugs into that. Dynamic auto wah. This is a waka box that we got for playing at the open mic at Sam Ash. They give you $10 a person, a musician, if you play on their open mic. So we went up there with the family band 2 weeks in a row. We played one song and we each got $10, and it was 4 of us. So that was $80 total, and I bought this pedal, and that was the most successful of my music career as a professional musician. 2 songs, $80. Boss Dynamic Auto Wah 3. We got a compressor, cheapo pedals. Joyo Ultimate Drive is a distortion, great for bass. This is a noise gate to keep things quiet. Demeter mid boost, like Eric Clapton boosts his mids. This is great for the bass, especially when you're using effects. You put this on and you can really hear the effects better because they're more in that range of frequencies that the guitar's in than bass. This is a phase shifter for that Roger Waters thing. We've got a cabinet simulator because she's going right into the PA out of this preamp. This is a bass limiter, which makes it really nice and loud. This is the missing link. This limiter, it was a cheap pedal, but man, did it make the bass sound powerful. So here's the last pedal. It's a preamp. It's got a bass, mid-range, and treble with a little distortion and a mixer for that distortion. Keep your clean sound, keep your bass grounded, and then a master volume with a balanced line output. So this is an XLR 90 mic cable. I special ordered that so it would run around there nicely and we wouldn't be tripping over our cable. So this goes right into the mixer. And then here's her subwoofer, which is 210s. It's a GK Galen Kruger Neo GK 210, which is some fancy word for a real lightweight dual 10-inch woofer, subwoofer that just bangs. This thing slams. And guess what? It was $19.95 at the Goodwill. And I almost passed out when I found it. So did my wife. She was so angry with me for wanting to buy it. And I got the sticker from the Donner Corporation, and they have no idea how happy they made me when I figured out how I could hack it. So that's Donna's pedal board, and that was the rig rundown. Thank you for joining me on this one. I'm going to cut you guys loose. I tried to go as quick as I could. I shaved 6 minutes off it. That's the best I can do. And peace.